Hello everyone, I am 48 Nation, and I'm back, this time with the top 10 best races of 2025. To begin, I have to get some disclaimers out of the way. First of all, I did not watch every race in every racing series this year and never will. A few notable series I missed out on most or completely were Australian supercars, World of Outlaws, MotoGP, and really any European GT racing besides WEC. I did my best to get the most out of this year, but I'm a busy college student athlete in the United States, so I can't get everything. Also, this is of course all my personal opinion, so if you have a favorite race that didn't make this list, make your own video. I try to be as unbiased as possible when creating these lists, but remember that there are always bias in things. Anyway, on to the very honorable mentions. The reason I wanted to mention this race was the fact that it had a marvelous finish created by a rare green-white checkered in this series. What's better than racing at Laguna Seca? Watching some other people race at Laguna Seca and having a photo finish. Cruel race, but this is the only time you'll ever hear me talk about the series. WEC's trip to Spa was another classic. There was fantastic racing for the majority of the race, and the end was filled with a ton of cars having to splash and go with botched fuel strategies. An overall great race that deserves to be watched at some point, even if it's just in the background. This race is just a classic case of two guys battling it out only to lose sight of what they were really going for and losing in the end. Car counts be damned, as only 14 took the green flag at Havasu Speedway, but it didn't matter as the top two put on a show for most of the race that ended up with one spinning out and the other third place car taking the win. This was not the last time the Cars Tour West will be on this list either. The season opener for the NASCAR Truck Series was a great intro to the season. The race was clean for the most part and had great 2 and 3 wide racing throughout. The finish was heartwarming as Parker Kligerman crossed the line first, but later it was revealed that his truck failed post-race inspection, so the win was given to Corey Heim, who went on to have the best Truck Series season of all time. This is just another one of those classic Mazda MX-5 Cup finishes. Unfortunately, this year is the only one on this list. A great race with a finish that came all the way down to the final corner, along with deciding the championship. Wish I could have caught more of these races this year, and also wish the ones I did catch were better. This race was just a great overall Cup Series race at Kansas with a ton of lead changes and passing throughout the field. The only thing that really tainted the rating of this race was the cautions near the end that delayed some of the action. Even despite that, we still got a thrilling finish and the final corner pass. Not as great as last year's Kansas races, but pretty damn close. The final honorable mention goes to the Cup Series lone stop at Michigan Speedway. This was a fuel mileage race where people could actually pass, and people actually ran out of fuel. Imagine that! For the most part, this race was a really solid with tons of action throughout the pack, and it also had a lot of lead changes and crazy moments. Denny Hamlin held on to win after battling Byron, who ran out of fuel coming to the white, hoping we can get more of this next year. Now, without any more delay, here is the top 10 best races of 2025. Starting off the list strong, we go to the first trip for the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Phoenix Raceway. I feel like Phoenix is only hated so bad because of the championship race. This race showed us that the track can produce great racing. Throughout the race, it was clear that 3 guys were head and shoulders better than the rest of the pack, being Justin Allgaier, Alex Bowman, and Eric Almirola. Every restart had incredible movement throughout the pack that resulted in tons of position changing. Only a few incidents throughout the day let the race play out semi-naturally, with Bowman winning Stage 1 over Almirola and Allgaier getting the Stage 2 win over Almirola and Bowman. The final stage went green for half of it until a brake failure from Dawson Cram caused a yellow. The leaders were going to pit anyway, so this didn't really change much in the grand scheme of things. On the ensuing restart, Allgaier got a jump out front ahead of Bowman and shot away as Almirola got stuck behind. With 8 laps to go, Carson Koppel had a brake failure that somehow did not bring out the caution, and then with 4 laps to go, the 07 of Nick Lights maybe ran over some debris from the broken rotor and spun out. This caution and overtime restart certainly helped this race a ton. On the restart, Allgaier went wide into turn 1. Bowman and Brandon Jones made it 4 wide for the lead. Alex Bowman took the lead and Almirola took second. Coming into the final corner, Almirola sent it in on the bottom and washed up into Bowman as they crossed the line side by side for a near photo finish as Almirola got the win over Bowman. Since people always hate this track, y'all will probably disagree with me on this ranking, but I thought this race deserves to be here. The 9th spot goes to the ARCA West race at Tucson Speedway. Another race where only 13 cars entered, but who the hell cares when you get this kind of a show? What do you get when you put a bunch of young guys on an old worn out track for 150 laps with no tire changes? Apparently peak, as everyone could do whatever they wanted in this race. If you wanted to, you could use your stuff up to drive up front and lead a bunch of laps, or you could sandbag and just barely go fast enough to stay on the lead lap like our eventual runner-up and winner did. This amount of strategy allowed for the most comers and goers I've ever seen in a race. A few guys like Cody Dennison ran up front early, but burned their stuff up and got lapped in the end. Another thing was the fantastic battles. Trevor Huddleston and Eric Johnson Jr. ran side by side for what seemed like forever before third place car and pulsator Jake Bowman came back to take his spot up front. This didn't last long, as in the end, a charging Tanner Reif swooped in and took the lead with 2 to go. Might I mention that nobody has made any contact in any of this and has raced each other so clean it's scary. Coming to the white flag, all 3 went 3 wide as the 19 fell back. It was just up to the 5 and the 13, and instead of a bump and run, the 5 and 19 kept it clean, which allowed Tanner Reif to take home the win. I really wish the Truck Series would race here at this track, because damn, this place can put on a hell of a show. 8th place across the line is the 2025 Indycar race at the Milwaukee Mile. Last year, Indycar made their return to this track with a doubleheader weekend. This year, they decided to have one race, which I think it paid off swimmingly. Alex Palou took the pole, which was a very common sight in 2025, but he was challenged early by David Malukas until Nolan Siegel crashed off a turn 4 at the end of lap 1. With another incredible save from Graham Rahal on the ensuing restart, we were finally able to get some racing in after lap 15. On this restart, however, Malukas was able to take the lead away from Palou. This lead was kept for about 26 laps until Palou was able to get him back. The first round of green stops came and went, with cars like Alexander Rossi jumping up the order after stopping earlier. At this point, the track was getting super slick with tons of marbles building up, and Palou kept pulling away from everyone. I thought it was about to get really boring, but thankfully, under the next round of green flag stops, Will Power made an unfortunate move around the outside of another car and hit the turn 2 wall hard. This caution was a very unfortunate time for David Malukas, as his crew took way too long changing the tire that got him stuck down a lap, basically ruining his chance at victory. On the restart, it was a typical IndyCar oval race, with the usuals going high and wide to make moves early. Joseph Newgarden had a particularly great restart, moving up to third. Quickly afterwards, a Prema car lost an engine and forced another yellow. On the next restart, Marcus Armstrong decided not to pit while everyone else did, which led to him getting swallowed up by the pack faster than the sucker hole at Daytona. Connor Daly was loving these restarts as he was able to make his way all the way up to 7th. The green flag run lasted all the way up until 42 to go when a tiny amount of rain fell on the track and IndyCar threw the yellow. In hindsight, we really didn't need this yellow, but I can see why they wanted to throw it. We ended up running under caution for 12 laps and restarted with 28 to go. Under yellow, many of the cars decided to put on fresh tires, while some of the leaders elected to stay out. This allowed Alexander Rossi and Christian Rasmussen to make their way through everyone else up to the front, particularly Rasmussen, who was the one who looked like he could get up and challenge below. He was able to go around Newgarden for third with 24 to go and McLaughlin with 21 to go and set his sights on Palou. It was only took him another 5 laps to catch Palou and go around the outside of Palou, and one of the best passes we saw all year. After this, Rasmussen was still digging all the way to the finish, nearly crashing a few times, but he held on and won his first ever IndyCar race. I think this was easily the best IndyCar race of the year, and certainly will be remembered for a long while. The 7th best race of 2025 goes to the second of the 3 Cars Tour West Pro Late Model races at Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway. Boy, that's a lot to say. This was the first race that Kevin Harvick and Keelan Harvick, I believe, ever raced against each other, and it did not disappoint. This race had 2 distinct 75-lap stages combining to 150 laps of racing. The first 75 laps were full of side-by-side close quarters racing, with Kevin Harvick winning the stage over his son in second. But even though the racing was good in the first stage, stage 2 was where everything was turned up a notch. Immediately starting off with the first lap where they took Keelan 3 wide down the backstretch and Kevin 3 wide into the front stretch. This set up Buddy Shepard, Kevin Harvick, and Jacob Gomes for a 3-car battle that lasted nearly the entire 75 laps. With 12 laps to go, Kevin tried to move Shepard out of the way and set off a set of slide jobs that lasted another 6 laps till Harvick tried to take it 3 wide into turn 1. The next lap, Shepard and Gomes washed up the track into turn 2 and let Kevin Harvick scoot by on the inside. Then entering turn 1, this happened.
Jacob Gomes trying to get by Kevin Harvick now. They hit. They're wrecking into turn number 1. It is your top 4 cars all wrecked.
The top 4 all crashed, and 5th place Keelan Harvick snuck through. After this, Keelan had a short battle with Kenneth Mitchell before taking the lead, driving away and winning. This certainly will not be Keelan Harvick's last win, and it wasn't, as he won a few more races throughout the year. The Fall Cup race at Atlanta takes the 6th spot on this list. This race, unlike the days before, was nearing the same highs as the 2024 Atlanta Spring race. The only thing that really killed it from being the best was what happened in the first 80 laps. From the beginning, the Fords wanted to line up and ride. Thankfully, some people weren't going to allow that until a caution came out for lightning delay. We then restarted with 12 to go in the first stage and ran green until Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson spun with 4 to go in the stage. This took out Ryan Blaney and Bell, who are both pre-race favorites. This also caused a stage to finish under yellow. Following this, on the stage 2 restart, we had this happen.
Gonna go and block the top of the racetrack. Big crash.
Denny Hamlin involved.
Big
like
crash.
Noah Gragson, Austin Cindric. This is what we talk about.
This crash removed almost all the favorites and decreased the competitive field by a lot. I think unlike many early race huge crashes, this one actually helped the race, as after this crash, the racing was absolutely phenomenal. We were able to see many people who don't normally run up front try to run up front. Slowly but surely, some of these people removed themselves, but the racing stayed strong. We also had an insanely close photo finish at the end of stage 2 between Reddick and Elliott. We did seem to have a caution problem on the back half of this race with a ton of single car spins from people getting desperate, but the actual racing was so good that any delay really didn't hurt, as it allowed us to catch our breath. The real fun began with 29 to go, where we went green from then on. Throughout these 29 laps, people were able to pull runs out of nowhere and pass for the lead. You had no idea who it was going to be until the white flag flew and Chase Elliott used a huge run by his teammate Bowman to surge in front of Brad Keselowski. This race was just a competitive masterclass on how to do super speedway racing, and I think that's what we will get more of next year at these tracks. Earning a top 5 position is the Fall Xfinity race at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. This race played out like the most NASCAR race I could ever think of, in a good way. For some reason, the very bottom of the track was extremely fast all weekend for the Xfinity series, and combine this with a very strong wind and you get a ton of variability between laps. It was clear after the first 2 stages, which added up to only about half the race, that there were 3 standout cars, being Eric Almirola, Connor Zilisch, and Jesse Love. The crazy part was, you could put any 3 in front and they would look like they should be there, but the second and third place guy would also be able to run them down. The restarts were awesome and clean for the most part, and drivers raced aggressively but also clean. Once the final stage started, I don't think the leader got more than a second ahead of each other as they battled and even drifted through all the corners. We even went green through a round of green flag pit stops, which is very rare for the Xfinity series. But then the caution came out for a spinning Dean Thompson. I thought the race would evolve into a crash fest, but surprisingly it didn't. Connor Zilisch got the jump ahead of Almirola, but as we saw all night, it wouldn't be over till it was over. And in the end, Zilisch was unable to hold off Almirola after heating up his right rear too much. He spent the last 4 laps drifting through every corner, willing his car to go any faster. Even though the GOAT still lost, I was still celebrating a wonderful race. The 4th best race of the year is actually the first race I rated this year. The Tulsa Shootout is a huge dirt racing event happening a few weeks before the world-famous Chili Bowl Nationals, specifically with this race being the non-wing outlaw feature, having some big-name NASCAR stars like Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson. 55 laps was the distance, and the entire race I don't think the leader got more than a couple car lengths ahead. Steven Snyder Jr. came from last and made his way all the way up to first with some incredible moves near the end. The only problem was, once he took the lead, he jumped the cushion and flattened his right rear tire. After this, a caution came out with 5 to go. This is when Kyle Larson decided to go Ross Chastain mode and basically wall ride his way around. He almost made it back to Bell and lost only by a 10th across the line. I recommend that you watch this race as it's available for free on Flow Racing's YouTube channel, and this event is shortly approaching again. The bronze medal in this video goes to the NASCAR Cup race at Circuit of the Americas. This was the first race on the new shortened circuit for NASCAR, and I think it paid off. Now, to be clear, I did attend this race, so I did have a different perspective than what someone on TV would have. But from what I saw, this race had an incredible action all day. I also sat in a different grandstand, being in the turn 12 instead of turn 1. Anyway, starting off on the green flag, where Ross Chastain decided to use the rest of the field as his brakes, turning Chase Elliott and flattening the first-time starter and Connor Zilisch's tire in the process. This set them both up for a long comeback, to which both were able to recover to at some point. The first few laps had a ton of movement throughout the pack, with leaders trying to save tires, but a few laps later, a faster SVG was able to get by Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick, who were fading. Along with SVG came a fast and furious Kyle Busch. Both Busch and SVG stayed within a few car lengths of each other over the rest of the stage. I would like to mention that during this stage, the 87 of Zilisch was running the same or faster times than everyone else on track as he tried to catch the pack. The restart of stage 2 was much more tame than the initial start, with nobody having any incidents on the first lap. This stage was incredibly fun for me to watch as Connor Zilisch started nearly in last on the restart and picked off cars one by one until he made his way all the way up to 13th by the end of the stage. Along with this, Kyle Busch and SVG continued to duke it out up front, swapping positions a few times. Then, Kyle Larson lost a wheel in front of me, but interestingly, the wheel rolled all the way into the sand trap and didn't bring out a yellow. At the same time as this, Busch and Van Gisbergen started battling again. This continued to the end of the stage. On the Stage 3 restart, everything once again went smoothly, this time with the slowing Michael McDowell, who stayed out to play a different strategy. Connor Zilisch had finally made his way all the way back up, and we were about to see what he really had for everyone. But then Daniel Suarez, who he is replacing, cut the track too much and spun out directly into him, wrecking both Trackhouse cars out of the race. As sad as that was, I wasn't gonna let it ruin my spirits on how amazing this race was. On the next restart, Shane got trapped back a bit and allowed Christopher Bell to race into second behind Kyle Busch. William Byron then made his way up into third, passing Chase Briscoe. It seemed like Shane was content to ride around and save his tires to put on a fresh set later than everyone else as he waited patiently to get by Briscoe. Busch ended up being the first to pit road, and this strategy kind of ruined his race as a caution came up for Denny Hamlin spinning through some dirt and pushing Austin Dillon into the sand trap. The ensuing restart with 13 to go was super intense as Busch led the field to green. Byron was forced wide, and Bell was able to shoot into second. Behind everyone, Ty Gibbs was turned by his teammate Briscoe at the new hairpin. Over the course of this run, it was clear that Busch wasn't going to be able to hold Bell and Byron off on the fresher tires, but Busch wasn't going to let them by easy. The racing mid-pack was crazy as some cars had to pit under yellow to get fresh tires, and some drivers getting off track, 3 wide, and locking up. Bell then made a mistake and almost spun Busch. This made him have to catch Busch again, which he did. With 6 laps to go, Tyler Reddick made his way into the fight, and it was now a 4-car fight. On this lap as well, Bell and Busch raced side by side for about a half lap before Bell finally took the lead away. Then, Bell almost missed the new chicane, which put Byron on his back bumper. They basically stayed like this, with Busch dropping off all the way to the checkered flag. Byron did not want to move Bell out of the way since he didn't see Bell move Busch. Bell got his second of 3 wins in a row, and a ton of Kyle Busch fans went home sad as we now know that this was his best chance to win in 2025. I have a full 43-minute video on my YouTube channel of highlights I recorded from my spot in the stands. I honestly think I did a better job at showing the race than TV did, but that's just me. Go watch if you please. The Close But No Cigar Award goes to the NASCAR Truck Series race at Homestead Miami Speedway. I think this was one of the most chef-kiss NASCAR races we've had at Homestead Miami, and let me check my watch, since the last one. But seriously, you had the Cup regulars of Kyle Larson and Ross Chastain versus the new fast guys in Corey Heim and Lane Riggs. Ultimately, it became a battle of just Heim, Larson, and Riggs, but that didn't seem to mean anything was lacking. Throughout the first stage, Larson went up and passed Heim, drove off to a lead, and then at the end, Heim passed him back with a better handling truck. The second stage was largely the same as the first, except this time, Heim led the whole way. Riggs also had a bad stop, which forced him to have to make his way back up through the field, and in the end, Heim pulled out to a lead just under a second over Larson for the stage win. The start of Stage 3 was super interesting as Ross Chastain decided that he wanted to lead and powered by them all to sit in front of Heim. Everything was going great for him till his truck started to fade and Heim took the top spot back. The next lap, Riggs got past Chastain too, but Larson got a huge run and tried to get them both. In doing this, Larson did Larson things and spun a full 360 in turn 1 and 2 under Riggs. We all thought he was done for, but shortly after he would prove us all wrong. Over pit stops, Riggs once again lost a few spots. And on the restart, Ross Chastain once again jumped out to an early lead, but was eventually caught and passed by Heim. We all thought Heim was going to drive away into the sunset, but with 20 laps to go, his truck just randomly shut off while driving down the backstretch. He quickly recycled it, but lost the top 2 positions and left Riggs and Chastain to battle for the lead. At this point as well, Larson was only about 5.7 seconds behind the leader, in 10th, but still didn't look like he had the proper speed to catch them until he unlocked the Larson line. With around 15 to go, Larson did what only he and a few others can do in NASCAR, and that is put your car so close to the wall that it looks like you're literally riding it. At the same time, Heim was restarting his truck, passing Riggs and losing it again. With 5 laps to go, Larson finally cleared Chastain for third, and it was just between him, Riggs, and the leading Heim. It looked like Heim was going to have it when his truck shut off again, with 4 laps to go, allowing Riggs and Larson to get by. Now Larson just had to make up a second to get Riggs and win, which he was able to do in about 1.5 laps. The drivers only broadcasts of Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski were owing and swallowing as they would have to race against Larson on Sunday. Heim tried to follow him through but was unable to make up his faulty truck's deficit. And Kyle Larson made the spin and win happen in only a matter of 30 laps. This race also posted to NASCAR's YouTube channel for all to watch, and I definitely think it's a good one. And the winner of the best race in 2025 goes to the 2025 Bathurst 1000. This was my first time watching this race, and one of the few Australian V8 supercars races I actually was able to watch this year. But it did not disappoint at all. For the first 55 laps of the race, it felt like I was watching a NASCAR race. I think V8 Supercars does NASCAR better than NASCAR at this point. It was everything you wanted from a stock car race, with bumping, banging, drafting, passing, etc. It wasn't until Tony D'Alberto crashed at the top of the hill that things got jumbled up a bit. This forced a safety car, and as they restarted again, Chaz Mostert's car gave up the ghost, so he did what any Aussie would do, down on their luck, and cracked a cold one with the fans. It wasn't until lap 65 where a new player entered the chat. Rain. The rain started to fall as everyone was still on slicks. Kostecki had to slide through some of the final corners and lost the lead to Waters. Then over the next lap, the two swapped the top spot 3 or 4 different times before both headed to the pits for some rain tires. While they were pitting, the 62 car of Morris slid into the gravel trap, causing another safety car. On lap 71, one of the contenders in the 6 car slid off into the barriers and damaged his car. Over the next few laps, many cars came in and swapped drivers again. On lap 96, Kostecki locked it up in the wet and nailed Allen in the 26. This gave Kostecki a drive-through penalty. Over the next bit, the rain kept falling harder, making it more difficult for drivers to keep their cars on the road. Then, with 38 laps to go, the championship leader in Brock Feeney wedged his Red Bull 88 deep into the tire pack, which brought out another safety car. On the restart, the lead changed hands again with some daring moves in the wet. While further back, it was chaos with multiple drivers going off the track near the end of the lap. Then, Will Brown ducked under the tire barriers and forced another safety car for debris cleanup. On the restart, the truck was more akin to a river than a road, but everyone kept it going for one more lap until someone yeeted it into the tires. As the safety car was coming out, the leader, Ryan Wood, went off track, losing his place. And then, under yellow, his car decided it didn't want to race anymore and broke. The next restart was super chaotic, as the third place car in Cooper Murray took charge, while others went off track behind him. Then, with 18 to go, another car binned it and forced another restart. On that restart, Murray jumped out again, but this time Matthew Payne would close in on him. Until 9 laps to go, where he made his move down the backstretch. They raced side by side through the kink until Payne overcooked it and went off track. But this would not be the end of Payne, as they all caught Murray again with 5 to go. This time, Golding took an ambitious move down the inside and nearly spun Murray out. This allowed Payne to scoot through to the lead. To this, Murray was awarded a 5-second time penalty, but he was not done yet. On the final lap, James Golding took the lead back from Payne, trying to see if he could run off to a 5-second lead, but in doing so, allowed Davis Reynolds to close in. Reynolds got to Payne's back bumper up the hill, but lost his momentum after contact. This allowed Matthew Payne to take home the Bathurst 1000 trophy and the trophy for the best race of 2025. The only reason I didn't give this race a 10 out of 10 was due to the large amount of stoppages. Other than that, this race was damn near perfect. Here are some of the averages for all 3 series I watched. Leading the way was MotoGP, who did not feature a race on this list, but I was able only to watch 6 events from them, and trailing the pack for once again, F1 and ARCA with abysmal 3.4 out of 10 and 3.8 out of 10 ratings. I think that this year was overall a bad year for motorsport, with stale racing in F1 and lawsuits, playoff drama, and stupid car problems in NASCAR. I'm hoping that next year is better, with new regulations in F1 and hopefully a new championship system in NASCAR. As I close out this video, I wanted to thank everyone for watching and give everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, as well as pay respects to Greg Biffle, who lost his life in a plane crash while I was writing the script for this video. Truly a horrible way to end the year, and I wish everyone affected by the loss of him and his family well. Thank you for all you did on and off the track. Everyone will miss you. Goodbye.